Howdy, Internet students. This is Mr. Hermanson. We're going to work on Objective 6.1H here, which happens to be where you are solving equations for a certain variable. We call those literal equations. So here's how it goes. We're going to use the balancing method, so just kind of keep that in mind. But you won't actually be able to find the answer. You'll only be able to represent the answer with an expression. But it's the balancing method, so I'm going to put a line right there. And I want to solve this for A. So basically you want to focus on that A and get that A there all by itself. All right? Now you'll notice that A is divided by 4, and the way you undo division is via multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. When I do that, I end up with 4 divided by 4 on this side, which is 1A, which is good. And then on the other side, I have 4 times y. I've now solved it for A. You're done. I got A all by itself. And so we can go on to the next one. In this one, we're trying to solve the equation for x. And again, focus on that letter you're trying to solve for, x. We want to get that all by itself using the balancing method. Okay. Now, you'll notice that there's 2 things happening with the x here. It's multiplied by y and it's divided by 5. I'm going to start by getting rid of that division. And like in the last problem, in order to get rid of that divide by 5, we multiply by 5. So I have a new equation now. On the left side, I have 5 times a. And on the right side, I have 5 divided by 5 is just 1 times the numerator of that fraction, which is xy, or x times y. Now remember, I'm trying to get x all by itself, so I still have to get rid of this y. Since it's multiplied by y, I'm going to divide by y, because y divided by y is 1, and 1 times x would just be x. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And on the left side, I now have 5a divided by y is equal to x. And I've now solved it for x because I have x all by itself. All right. On the third one, we're going to solve it for r. There's just a little bit different process involved in undoing this equation. But again, focus on that variable that you're trying to solve for. We need that r all by itself. Save this part for last. Get rid of that p first. So in order to get rid of that p, it's added, so I'm going to subtract p from both sides. When I do that, on the right side, p minus p is 0, so that leaves me with just the expression p times r times t. And on the left side, I have a minus p. Now, those aren't like terms, so you can't combine them in any way, so we just write it as the subtraction problem, a minus p. Now remember, our focus here is to get r by itself. To do that, if I divide p by p, that would be 1, and the p's would cancel. And likewise, if I divide t by t, the t would divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by p times t. And on this side, that cancels the p, that's 1. And the p's, that's 1. So I end up with 1r on the right side, and on the left side I just have an expression where you can see I subtracted p, and then I divided by the expression p times t. All right. On the last one, and this is probably the most important, that you're able to take an equation written in standard form and write it in slope-intercept form, for the main reason, because then you can tell what the slope is and what the intercept is a lot easier. And also you can then use your calculator to put that y equals equation in the calculator. But anyway, so we're solving, to put in slope-intercept form, we need y by itself. So I'm going to focus on this y, get that by itself. Save that -3 part for last. Let's start by getting rid of the 5x. And 5x minus 5x would be 0. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. And then we'll rewrite the equation. Remember that since this says minus 3y, that's actually a -3. So we have -3y equals, and on the right side, Just so that it's in exactly the same form, I'm going to put the negative 5x first. Since the 18 is a positive number, it would be plus 18. And then in order to get rid of the negative 3, I'm just going to divide by negative 3. Now, when I divide this side by negative 3, I really have to distribute that division. So I need to divide both the negative 5x by negative 3 and the 18. So to do that, I'm going to just go ahead and divide everything by negative 3. And now on this side, I have 1y, which is what I wanted. I have negative 5 divided by negative 3. As a decimal, that doesn't look very good. Negative divided by negative is positive, but it's 1.6 repeating. When I get that situation, I'm just going to leave it as a common fraction, 5/3. And then I can do the 18 divided by negative 3. That comes out really nice. A positive divided by negative is a negative 6. So I write that as minus 6. All right. So you have some work to do. Go ahead and get to work on that, and good luck on your retake.